Let's talk to Airbus Albo. He is yet again up and in the air. I think he's in Indonesia. The American president landing in Doha in Qatar as we speak. Whether he leaves with the free plane or not, we'll get to that a bit later. But we know that one of the most important parts of the coalition that the Labor Party put together in 2022 and in 2025 were seats that had high Chinese voter populations. Now, these were groups who had voted for the coalition in 2019, 16, 13 and 10. This didn't spring up overnight, but we know they moved hard against the then Morrison government and hard again about going back to the Liberal Party at this election. So the Prime Minister knows that the power of the Chinese diaspora in Australia is determinant in multiple seats, that if any time into the future things got close, they really matter. And can I say very clearly, there is a difference between the Chinese government, the citizens of China, and anyone in Australia who has connections back to Chinese heritage. What's interesting, though, is that very clearly, en masse, a collection of people who voted, again, for the Liberal Party in 19, 16 and 10, in terms of recent history, and 13 as well, well, they made a big change. Why did they make a big change? Because, of course, the Chinese government punished Australia for the then Australian government standing up to China when it came to its responses and responsibility for the outbreak of COVID-19. We know about the trade sanctions that were aimed at punishing Australia for trying to demand greater responsibility out of China. Of course, with the change of government was a change of attitude. And the Prime Minister, well, he, of course, has been rewarded as being a handsome boy by Chinese officials. He has set about trying to make the most of a new and reset relationship, one that has been seemingly rewarded by voters all over the country since the election was so definitive a couple of weeks ago. But of course, the Chinese government, which is different than the Chinese people, which is different than the people of Chinese descent who live in Australia, is not your average bear when it comes to a government. We know that this is a regime that has put 1 million people into slave labour camps because they believe in a faith that the government does not approve of, that being the Uyghurs. We know that one of the very reasons why we turn to countries like the United States and have to buy $300 billion worth of submarines is because of the potential military threat of China. It's not about guarding ourselves against New Zealand, Papua New Guinea or Indonesia. So we should note with caution how the Chinese president has reacted to our election. The President, Xi, has congratulated Anthony Albanese and says that Australia and China should work together to promote world peace. President Xi Jinping has congratulated Anthony Albanese on his re-election, saying that he wants to work with the Australian Prime Minister to strengthen their relationship and promote world peace and stability. In a written message delivered on Tuesday, as the Prime Minister was sworn in by the Governor-General, the Chinese leader said that he had engaged in-depth discussions on strategic, comprehensive and directional issues in all three of his meetings with our Prime Minister. These discussions led to important consensus that have provided strategic guidance to improve and grow bilateral ties. Strengthening cooperation between China and Australia is of great significance for achieving shared development and promoting world peace and stability. The President's comments were also run on the front page of the People's Daily, which is the Communist Party's leading newspaper. And you see, Anthony Albanese, to keep the arrangement nice and happy, where plenty of people get rich off the trade, where no messages are sent via the social media apps that some people like to use in this country that would be anything but supportive of the Australian government, there is simply one thing Australia has to do, and that is to never stand in the way of China.